We here in New York City, man. New York City, Excel, X Marks the Spot podcast. It's only one way to really kick off a podcast. In order for you to find greatness and achieve greatness, you got to deal with great people. You got to associate yourself with great people. So we decided to kick off the podcast with a legend, an icon, a master at what he does, a visionary. I mean, I could go on and on with the titles, with the labels, but this man, you know, he embodies what hip hop is because he took chances and he went against the grain when no one believed him. And X Marks the Spot, we take pride in introducing influential individuals such as Ralph McDaniels. We got him in the building right now.
Yes, sir.
We at SOBs. We had to bring it back down to the essence.
Yeah, this is a lot of history for me, SOBs, because I recorded a lot of early hip hop as well as a lot of early soul artists here, you know, with my program Video Music Box, which was, you know, nobody was doing that. You know, nobody cared, about hip hop back then. You know, it wasn't like there yet, you know. And so I did a lot of interviews here at SOB. So big up to, you know, SOBs because they allowed, first of all, hip hop artists to get on stage.
Right.
That wasn't normal.
Right.
Not every club was having that. You know, they was like, we ain't having no hip hop here. You can't perform. You can't do this.
Especially back in those times.
Back then, yeah. You couldn't, it wasn't easy to just walk up in a club and as a hip hop artist, get on stage. They wasn't having that. Plus, they wanted everybody to wear hard bottoms. And we were wearing Timbs, you know. It was like, can't wear them big coats and Timbs in here. Y'all might have guns on y'all or something.
But let me ask you, right? Because I know Video Music Box started, at least you kicked it off in 83.
Yes.
Right? So where was your mind at in 82?
82, I was working in clubs. I was a DJ.
You was a DJ?
Yeah, I was a DJ first.
Okay.
You know, I'm from a DJ from out in the days, plugging into the pole in the park, you know, and with my own sound system and everything. You know, I grew up in Brooklyn and moved to Queens, and at that time, everybody was, you know, you could make some money DJing, you know, and so I just was like, okay, let's buy some speakers and take our mom's turntables and plug it up and figure out how they do this, and that's what we did, you know.
Okay.
And so me and my partner Lionel Martin, the vid kid, who's later on came on Video Music Box and later on directed some of the greatest videos ever in the world, you know, we started that, and we just were like trying to figure out our way, man, you know. And the music business was something that was not that hard. I loved music from day one, you know. Like I collected albums, you know, and read, well, see, now I said albums, you know, vinyl, you know, because I just read everything about the group, you know, who produced it, where it was produced at, who mixed it, who did. I learned so much from looking at the back of an album.
Right.
or even the vinyl, you know.
Just reading the credits.
Reading the credits,
like
you know, I miss that part of the music business. But, you know, that's how it was back then, and you learned a lot, you know, from that.
So you made the transition from being a DJ to a VJ.
Right.
When that title didn't even exist for real.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
In the hip hop culture, in the hip hop community, no one knew what a VJ was. You know what I'm saying? So, what influenced you to say, "Yo, let me dabble into that"?
Well, I was in school. I went to school for TV and film.
Okay.
And
while you was DJing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to school for. That's how I paid my tuition, by DJing. You know, and school wasn't that expensive back then because I sure wasn't making that much money. But you know, it was an opportunity for me to, you know, do something that I felt was connected to what I was going to school for, as well as what I knew, music. So, you know, I went to school for TV and film. I went to New York Institute of Technology in Westbury. I was out there, and you know, I was like, yo, I gotta, you know, figure out something. I got a degree. What am I going to do? And I started. I had an internship working at this TV station, NYC TV channel, well, WNYC TV channel 31, and I watched all the programs on there, and they were all like PBS type stuff, like Channel 13 here in New York. Yeah. And it was like boring as hell. And I was like, you know, like, there's gotta be something else that we could be showing on here. And, you know, and so one day this music video came in. Well, it wasn't even a music video, it was some groups performing. But it was really a promotional tape. And this is before music videos existed.
This is what you was interning.
Right.
Okay.
Music videos didn't come around till really MTV made it a big thing, you know. But nobody had MTV because New York didn't have cable. MTV came from cable. So they were talking, y'all want my MTV, but what is that? You know, it was like it didn't exist, you know, because nobody had cable. I was on a channel that everybody had, Channel 31. It was just a broadcast channel. It might not be the easiest to find, but if you had a TV, you could possibly get it. You might have to put your antenna.
The antenna right. I did that a few times
and
back
you could find it.
Midnight.
So that's how people found me first before MTV. They found me because it was like, oh, okay, whoa, what's this? I hear music and I see people performing and stuff, and that was the beginning of the music video or music on television movement in New York.
Okay, so then this is 83, right? We talking. You walk in to the first event with your camera. How walk me through that process, right? Because obviously before you there was no one doing that. So what was you thinking when you walking into this party, this event, and you saying, okay, I'm gonna capture this, I'm gonna document this, I'm gonna, structure it this way. Like, what was your thought process as you was walking in?
Well, my first process was, look, let's get the crowd, let's get people dancing. I really probably came to record an artist that was performing because a lot of people didn't have music videos. So I was going there to let's say it was Eric B and Rakim. They didn't have videos. They weren't, they didn't have videos yet. So I was like, we got to get them doing a hot song, performing it.
Okay.
And then we started going in and recording people in the crowd and things like that. But people, you got to remember that nobody was doing this before. So you're talking about a place with 500 people, they dancing, they enjoying themselves, whatever, and here comes a camera. They thought it was like the news. Like, what happened? Somebody got shot? Why is the news here? Because I had this big ass light.
And I can imagine those cameras back in the day, man, it was the size of the sofa, bro.
The cameras were big, like, regular, cameras from back then, Beta Cam or whatever it was we were shooting. And a giant light that just lit the whole place up, and people were like, uh-oh, what happened? Something's wrong, And then, the DJ or the promoter, we got video music box in the house, they're gonna tape it, make some noise, and then everybody got familiar with what it was. And so the crowd started jumping around. Now the camera is like super important. As soon as that light came on, everybody just ran to the camera. But in the beginning, people were like, what's going on? Why is there a camera here? And even the promoters and even the, different, I remember Russell Simmons going like, but I don't understand, like, what are you doing with this? I'm like, it's just imagine it's like radio, but it's on TV. And we're gonna have live interviews and performances and things like that, and we're gonna play the groups. And so he was like, all right, are people watching that? And I'm like, if they're not, they will be, because it's on their TV. And so he didn't understand. Nobody, because most of the time, up to that point, most music industry people were into radio. That's all they know.
That's what they knew, yeah.
They go to the radio station, you give the DJ your record or whatever it was, and they play it, and that's how you got popular. Now there was another place for you to get your music played, and it was through television, and we were the first to do that.
Now, we're going to fast forward, right? So we're going from 83, your first event, you documented it, kicked off, great response from the audience, great response from the people. The culture embraced it.
They didn't know. Really, it was people were still trying to figure it out. They quite, because they didn't know. First of all, the record companies were trying to figure out how to charge you to do this because they felt like you were taking something from them. So a lot of record companies were like, oh, he's got to pay for that to come in and do that. And I was like, this is promotional. Nobody even knows who these people are, some of these artists that that are up here. So the record companies in the beginning were trying to charge me for, now music videos are starting to be made now. The music,
and this is late 80s, early 90s?
This is early 80s.
Early 80s.
In mid 80s.
Mid 80s, all right.
Sony Records was like, okay, we're going to pay us like, $100 a month.
So Sony's coming to you, talking about.
Saying for you to get access to all our videos, promotional videos, which is what it said on the thing, we need you to pay for it. I was like, well, I don't understand. You're trying to get your artists out there. Why wouldn't you want to give it to me so I can play it and so everybody can see it? Now that promotional video did what it was supposed to do. And so, but they were just trying to figure out how to, if I paid, they would have took it,
of course.
And but the artists all complained. So there was a time when I played nothing on Sony, and the artists were like, yo, why you not playing my video? Like stepping to me in the club. I'm like, yo, speak to your label. They trying to charge me to play your stuff. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? So they would go back and complain the next day. It was like, oh, Ralph, yo, I'm gonna send you the video. So that, because they knew that it was working.
It was relevant.
So it was relevant.
It gives our marketing the promotion.
Yeah, they weren't getting played on, by that time, MTV was out, but MTV was just playing rock and roll. They weren't playing like a lot of urban music.
From what I'm hearing is that at one point you took the idea of Video Music Box, you presented it to MTV.
Yeah.
And how that turned out? What happened?
In '86, now, there's more rap albums coming out. There's more urban music coming out. And Video Music Box is on a roll. And I went to MTV and I said, look, man, how come you guys don't have a hip hop show? I think you should take Video Music Box. And they said, no, we're not, Middle America is not ready for a hip hop show. So I was like, what are you talking about? Run DMC is popping,
Right.
All of these groups are hitting. There's tours out now, and this thing is going on. And they were like, yeah, but you don't understand, that's in New York. The rest of the country is not really like that. And I'm like, but LA and New York is all that matters. Why are we worried about the rest of the country?
And in LA, they were doing their thing out there with the World Class Wrecking Crew and all these guys.
Right, at that time, And so, because, they had more households in New York and LA than anywhere else. That's where they were really
their main markets,
their main markets, and they didn't even know that, Chicago had a scene, Atlanta had a scene, Miami had a scene. They didn't even know all of that yet. They were just dealing with, I'm talking about the major markets. I think we can work there. And so they were like, nah, we don't want to do it. And it was my boy. I knew the guy, I knew the guy that I was talking to. It wasn't like somebody that I didn't know. And so I was like, all right, I disagree with you. I hear you, but I disagree with you. And then a year later, in '87, is when they started Yo MTV Raps.
Wow.
Yeah. So the interesting story about that is that the dude who started the guy who was the original producer, Ted Demme, was a fan of Video Music Box, as a kid growing up in Long Island. And, and years later, he put me in his movie. He did a movie called Who's the Man? His uncle was Jonathan Demme.
Okay.
Rest in peace. Both of them passed away since. Ted Demme. Ted did some incredible movies as well. Okay. Yeah, he did Blow.
Oh, wow.
And so his boy, we were sitting down somewhere, and Ted and his boy, and we were talking, and his boy goes, Ted took all your ideas. When he started, so Ted comes back, and I said, yo, your boy just killed you right now. And he was like, what did he say? So you shouldn't have told Ralph that. And he's like, it's true, whatever, man, I did. I said,
that's crazy.
But it was all good. We were friends. Okay. We were good friends, and I'm glad that people came to me when Yo MTV Raps came out. We're like, yo, man, what you gonna do? And I'm like, well, by that time I'm directing videos as well. I'm producing and directing videos. And I'm like, well, now the videos that we put out can now get national, play.
Exposure, right,
yeah, so it's good for the culture. I can't be mad. What's good for the culture? It's bigger than me right now.
Right.
And that's how it went.
So in the '80s, now you established yourself, as the go-to guy for documenting.
Yeah, we were documenting hip hop, and we were also making like every video. We did every video.
Now we talking about the '80s, a young Ralph McDaniel.
Yeah.
'80s was crazy.
I was old then, but I'm still, I got young eyes.
A younger, right, Ralph in the '80s, man. So what was a younger Ralph like? 30 years ago, what was Ralph doing when at the height of this whole Video Music Box wave?
We were just looking for the next thing. We wanted to know, where is this going? We were also part of the scene. We were hanging out, just like any other person at 30 years old or 25 years old, whatever it was. We were part of it. We were in it. We were doing it, as well as we found a business, in it, and we found a lane that made sense, and we were relevant. We wanted to be relevant. That was a key to me.
But you was relevant, right? Let's say from '83 on forward, you hanging out with the Russell Simmons, you're hanging out with these celebrities, with some icons at the time that they were still relevant.
They were still relevant, yeah. And we were with them when they didn't have anything. We were with them from the beginning. So it's like anytime there's a movement, you don't know, but if you believe in it, like we didn't know that hip hop was going to go to where it went, but we had passion for it. And we just dug it. It was something that we were like, yo, this is hot. We like what we're doing, and people seem to like what we're doing.
But what I admire about you is that you made it through that wave in the '80s and '90s, and I've yet to find any negative publicity on Ralph McDaniel.
Oh yeah, no,
but a lot of your friends, a lot of people that grew up with you, they went left with it for the most part. You know what I mean? So how you dodge that?
Yeah, my real friends, people that I grew up with, I tell people like a lot of them are either dead or in jail or crazy. I see them and I'm like, what are you talking about? And that's, something that anybody who grows up in, in a particular neighborhood has to deal with. Like I tell people, like I have friends that are, killers, but they were my neighbors. So I didn't look at them in that way. I knew they did screwed up stuff. But I just knew them as a kid. We grew up together. They turned into who they were. You know, I'm like, he did that, really? You know, they'd be like, oh, okay. But they were my friends, you know, and I wasn't involved with that because I tell people, they looked at me as like, yo, Ralph, you doing something good. You the DJ, you got this video music box thing going on now. Yeah, they just was like, Ralph gets a pass on everything, you know, in all hoods. And then after a while, now I'm in Brooklyn, I'm in Staten Island. I don't care. I'm in any borough that I stepped into. It was like, oh, Ralph, you know, you good with us. We love you. You on TV. We love you. You play our stuff. You good with us. And that still kind of, you know, goes to this day now. You know, I know some OG in some hood that's gonna be like, hold up, that's my man, you know, and we good.
Well, how do you manage to stay away from drama though? How do you balance that? Because at one point or another, you're gonna run into haters.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you got lucky and you just got love your entire career. I don't know, but I'm sure that at some point or another there was people that didn't like you, or people with negative energy coming your way. How you manage to dodge that and stay focused?
I think for me is that we always had a team of people that were around us.
Okay.
That, you know, even if you was thinking about something negative, there was somebody in the crew that kind of picked up on it that you really didn't want to have a problem with. And that kind of cooled it off.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, so I probably was blind to some of that because I didn't see it because, you know, we was a team.
The circle had
was back, and it was like, you know, like I can remember like when we were younger, when I used to DJ, we used to go to different areas, and you know, and I'd be DJing, and my crew, they always got into fights. You know, and I'm like, yo, man, we're not gonna get booked no more. Y'all can't be fighting every time we go out. You know, and they were like, yeah, but he disrespected, you know, and I'm like, but you can't be fighting everybody, you know. And so, you know, some of the crazy guys we couldn't bring with us. Everybody couldn't come, you know, and that's, you know, that's for anybody who's watching this. Everybody can't go to everything.
And that's what I was trying to get to, because, you know, especially now with these artists, you know, they're hanging out with, they have an entourage, everybody, you know, 30 deep or whatever the case may be. But we have to find a way to develop a good judgment of character. So apparently you had that ability.
Yeah.
Develop that. So how did you master that art? You know what I'm saying? 'Cause it is an art to really point out, so, you know, you not good, you fucked up, you get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
you're managing, you know, stuff on the way. You know, you're managing personalities, you know, and you know that this guy drinks too much. This guy does this. This guy does that. This girl is loose. She can't come. She's gonna take the distraction off of what we're trying to get. You know, and so you just trying to do it as you're going along. You know, and you got to be aware of it. Everybody cannot go through the door, and you know, I'm not saying that you don't want them to go, but you know, in certain situations you have to kind of
place, right?
it's a time and place for everything, and not everybody's gonna grow up. You know, you realize that. You know. You know, I used to be just like everybody else, and then at one point I said I gotta be responsible, you know, or if I want to get paid, I have to do this, you know, and let me at least establish it first. Once I establish it, then I bring the crew, you know, and then the crew will come in and we know how to, you know, do what we need to do. But you have to, as an individual, just know how to, you know, how to move in a certain, you know, you can't go up to, you know, the record company and think that you're gonna come with the entourage. You know, some people have done it and it's worked out. From Wu-Tang did it, and it worked out.
And speaking of that, you directed a few of their videos.
Yeah,
right?
man, I've done a ton of stuff with Wu and Raekwon and RZA individually, but you know, when RZA first came with the Wu-Tang, he came to my office. I knew him before before Wu-Tang. He was Prince Raheem, and you know, he came out and he said, I got a new thing. I said, what is it? He said, Wu-Tang. So I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I looked in the hall on my office and it was like 10 guys there. And I was like, he said, that's the Wu-Tang Clan. I was like, what the hell is that? What do you mean, the Wu-Tang Clan? What is that? You know? And he was like, yo, everybody rhymes, everybody's nice, da-da-da-da-da. He played a video for me, Protect Your Neck. He showed it to me and it was a rough cut. Okay. And well, at least I thought it was a rough cut. And I was like, all right, so when you finish it, just get it to me. And he says, that's it. You can play it just like that. That was 92, 91, whatever year what you call them, first album came out. And so I was like, all right. You know, so I said, let me go, I'll be right back and go to the bathroom. So I looked at the video, I came out, and it was like, when I went to go to the bathroom, it was like 40 ounces lined up outside my office. And I was like, yo, y'all trying to get me kicked out the building, you know? I'm the only brother in that floor. And I'm not talking about like cool people on my floor. These are all like 50 year over, you know, highbrow, you know, PBS type people. And, you know, and I'm like this, like, I looked at, I was like, y'all gotta take the bottles out the hallway. So my bad, son, my bad. But, you know, that was how our relationship was. And it was like that from day one. And then they didn't even have a record deal yet, you know. And then Steve Rifkin called me, who I had worked with. He was a promotional guy. He had started this record label called Loud Records. Oh, yeah. And Steve Rifkin said, what do you think about Wu-Tang? I said, yo, you should sign them. We're getting a good response on it. And they was, I mean, I don't know if it was just me, but I had something to do with it, you know, and getting them their deal.
And you also worked with Nas.
Yeah.
Early in his career.
Yeah, worked with Nas. Nas I knew through, me and my partner Lionel did most of the early stuff for Third Base. Third Base was MC Search and Pete Nice, Brooklyn Queens cats, and assigned to Def Jam. And MC Search came to me and said, yo, I got this dude, Nasty Nas, and he's from Queensbridge, he's got a lot of buzz, he's doing it, blah, 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 blah. So, okay. So the first time you see Nas is on one of MC Search's songs, you know? And so MC Search is like, you know, to me, a straight up guy. I know him from, he used to be in battles. You know, he's a guy who knows. He's not just some artist that got signed. Like he's legit from Far Rockaway. Okay. And so I said, yo, Search, you know, this dude is nice, man. He's like, yo, we're gonna do something with him. And then all of a sudden I get a call from Columbia Records, and they're like, you know, we want you to do a EPK on Nas. And it was like, a EPK was electronic press kit, which basically tells the press and whoever else wants to know about the artist. Right. So it was.
So the label contacted you.
Yeah, and they said I said, so what do you want me to do? He said, well, Nas is going to come to the meeting. Y'all talk about it. We figure out how to do it. So I sat down with Nas. I said, well, how you want us to look? And then he was like, I just want it to look like Video Music Box, how you normally do what you do. Okay. I said, all right, fine. So we had all the producers there: Pete Rock, Q-Tip, LES, Large Professor. Who else was on that? A bunch of producers, and we did it. We recorded them in a room just like we're talking right now, and we played the tracks throughout this whole thing, and we went to Nas's crib in Queensbridge, and we hung out with him, and we did it, and it came out great. Nas loved it, you know, and the label loved it and stuff. And it was like a 7-minute piece. If you look it up, Nas EPK, you saw on YouTube now. And then they came back to me the next day and was like, yo, could you do the first video? And I was like, all right, so what's the song? And it was like, It Ain't Hard to Tell. And so I was like, all right, let's rock out, you know. And like a week later, we did the video. And that was the first video off that album that came out. He had a video before that. Right? That was a single, yeah. So he had a song before that, but it was from a movie, Halftime. But that was the first video off of Illmatic, yeah.
And you also worked on Juice, right?
Yeah, I worked on Juice. Juice was... how
was it like working with Pac?
It was great. Pac was great, very passionate. He was more serious than anybody else in that movie about it. He was the first person that they casted, the guys from California who were the executive producers. They had Pac. They wanted Pac in the movie. I'll tell you an interesting story is that they had Pac. We were shooting Juice. There was another movie being shot at the same time called Strictly Business, which was Halle Berry was in that. She was the star of that. Okay. I'm not sure if it was her first film, but it might have been one of her first films. So everybody's excited about Halle Berry being in this movie. And they also had, you know, like more of an R&B kind of New York feel to their thing. I think Juice was hip hop.
The total opposite of
right.
Yeah, I remember Strictly.
Right. So we shot at the same time. We were shooting in New York, but both productions were going on at the same time. So Puffy Diddy was working with Uptown Records, who was doing the soundtrack for that, and he was involved in it, you know, heavily. He got into a fight with a Teamster, which is not a good thing to do if you want to be in the movie business. That's the union. Okay. and they fired him from the set. They fired him from Strictly Business.
They fired Puffy out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he came to me and said, yo, I want to be in Juice. And I was like, all right, well, come down to the office. Now, I didn't know about the fight at that time. Okay. And so he says, you know, because the role of Bishop, that's me, which is the role that Tupac had already.
Wanted that role. Wow, okay. Go ahead. This is breaking news.
Yeah.
X marks the spot. We're getting somewhere now.
True story.
Okay.
And so Puff wanted to be Bishop because he was like, I'm from Harlem. This is me. This is my story. I saw the script. I read the script. Yeah. This is me all day. So I said, all right, well, let me see what's going on. So I went to the producers, and they were like, we can't have Diddy here. He just had a fight with a Teamster.
Wow. So that fight is what kind of like X'd him out.
Well, he wouldn't have got the role anyway because Pac already had the role.
So the role was already designed for Pac.
Yeah, it was already. That's the only thing that they had solid when they came here, because they didn't. At that time, you gotta remember, there's not a lot of movies being made.
Especially not about hip hop.
Yeah, not about hip hop. I mean, you had Wild Style, but that's what kind of independent films that were kind of developed on their own, but not like Hollywood.
Right.
And so he comes in. Most people, the producers come in. They're like, we got Tupac. In New York, we really didn't know who Tupac was. We knew who Shock G was. He came from Digital Underground. Right. But we didn't know who Tupac was. People who artists knew who he was, but the majority of the people didn't know. And so we just were like, yo, man, how about we do this movie. And they came in and I said, who you casting? Who's gonna be on the thing? And they were like, we don't know. And I was like, you gotta show up and tell me, who you want. And they didn't know what to do. And they were reaching out to people and nobody believed in them. But people believed in me. Okay. They believed in Video Music Box. So they said, can you get in contact with Queen Latifah? We want her. So I called Latifah. I was like, yo, these people are doing this movie. They want you to be in it. Can you come through? Da-da-da. It's legit. I'm down with it. Da-da-da. Oh, okay. You down with it, Ralph? All right. Boom. I'll come through. Let me find out what's going on. Okay. I called up the Bomb Squad, who did Public Enemy's album. I think at the time they had just did all the Ice Cube's album. If I'm not mistaken, all the Ice Cube stuff, and that came out. So we got all these people to come in and be part of the production because, for lack of a better way of saying it, is that we didn't really trust Hollywood at the time. We thought they were going to take advantage of hip hop, and we were going to get jerked. And so they needed somebody to kind of like be the person in between, the liaison between the hip hop community and Hollywood, and help it happen. So I didn't negotiate their deals. They did whatever they did. I didn't get nothing off of their deals. I just became associate producer on the film, and I'm in it for a quick hot minute, and goes back to SOBs where we're at right now. Right. The interview that I did with Gil Scott-Heron, who I mentioned, I used part of that in the movie Juice.
Oh, word?
Yeah, and I put it, because they were like, we need to be having them watching TV. And I was like, okay, so how about they watching Video Music Box? I said, oh, that's a good idea, bro. So
I'm gonna go check that out now. I'm gonna go check that out. So now Video Music Box, it's a household name in the 5 boroughs. Now Ralph McDaniel, you run in the city as the go-to guy. Now, where is your ego at that moment?
It probably was way, way, way up here, but I never really kind of showed it. But I'm sure, I was like, my actions might have been a little bit more. Like, I wasn't one to walk around and boast about anything. I never really, was wearing like stupid chains or nothing like that. Right. Because I didn't want to get robbed. Because I was in the hood. I wouldn't have no problem in going wherever in the projects, wherever. Right. Jersey City. People know like, oh, Ralph is here. Like, he's the only person that would come here. Right. So I respected the hood. I respected the street. And that's the other thing, too, that I think that kind of goes back to what you said earlier, is how did you not have problems? Because I respected the street. And, and so, in dealing with artists and dealing with folks, we gave them, the benefit of the doubt. I always give you like, okay, if you tell me you're the greatest artist in the world, all right, well, let's see, show me, and then sometimes it wasn't like, come on, this is whack, this is not happening, and then a problem. Now you got a problem with me,
because you're being honest,
right? And that's the only thing I knew was to be honest about it. Sometimes we'd be like, all right, well, maybe just work on it a little bit. Maybe it's early, but sometimes people would say I could be too honest. Right. And I'm like, I'm not trying to hurt your film. I'm just trying for you to not waste time.
So let me ask you, right? With all of these accomplishments, and you got a nice wall of fame with a lot of awards and things of that nature, why you never, or are you willing to start your own network as far as your own TV station or anything like that? You ever thought about that?
That's a good question. In the beginning, I always wanted Video Music Box to be like MTV, because I never looked at myself as a show. I was like, well, if they started MTV, how do I get one of those channels like they did? Right. Like, that's what we were looking for. Well, I see some channels that are available. Nothing's on those channels. How can we get those channels? But, I watched this documentary about, cable when it started, and especially in New York. And the guys who were all part of it were all friends. So there was one dude who wanted to do MTV, another guy who wanted to do CNN, another guy who wanted to do this, and another guy who wanted to do that. And they just said, okay, we're going to divvy it up amongst our friends.
Wow.
And that's how we're going to start it.
That's
and I was like, oh, those people all knew each other. I didn't know that. So what you're watching now, years later, MTV, VH1, CNN, is all some guys who were just sitting in a room as friends before it wasn't popping. It came up, they wired the city for cable, and they all gave it to their friends. Now people now, like Oprah and all these other people who buying in, those guys from the beginning didn't have to do that. They were just there from the beginning. Now Oprah, she's in, and all these other people are in, and all these other channels that have popped up over the years are popping up. They were doing that for TV. They wanted to get in. Now the good thing is that we have we don't have to be on TV.
Right.
Everything can be digital. So when I think about it, my content is still out there, kind of all over the place. True. Like I have, like I watch certain things on Instagram, and it's like millions of people watched it, and it's my clip.
Right.
And I get nothing out of that. Right. I'm like, somebody's making money off of this, right? I have to be getting, where's the check? There's got to be some kind of money. So I go to my lawyer, I'm like, yo, dog, like 2 million people watch this, like 3 million people watch this clip. And it's like, it happens over and over again, and I'm like, somebody's getting money for this, And he's like, I don't know. We don't know. How do we find who that person is? Because there's some kid in Minnesota who posted it, for all we know. And he didn't even know what it was. He just happened to get crazy hits. What are we chasing? This kid in the house? Like, what are we doing? Like he don't have no money. So, I feel like we have a network that's out there, which is kind of weird, because there's all kinds of footage that's people don't even know it's mine, and it's mine. I know it's mine when I see it, because people go like, how do you know it's your phone? Trust me, I shot it. I was there. I know it's mine, and we feel like we have a network out there, and part of it was, in going through those type of conversations, how do we make money off of this? It was like, well, in a way, you're still relevant, because this stuff is still being posted up somewhere, and you're touching millions of people. And I was like, I hear you, but I feel like somebody's getting the check out of it. Somebody's getting the check.
But is that what motivated the app? Because I know you're working on the app right now, right?
Yeah, well, the Video Music Box app was motivated because it's all over the place. And that's basically what it was. I was like, we need people to come to one place for this now. And now we can control what our content does, and how we want to curate it and how we want to put it out. And so, and there's so much stuff that we haven't put out, that people don't know about. Like, people license footage from me all the time. Like, you might watch TV One, the show on TV One, Unsung, and that's like Video Music Box footage all the time. People go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, yeah. And so we do licensing deals with them. We do licensing deals with when a Tribe Called Quest documentary, Beats, Rhymes, and Life, Michael Rappaport was like, yo, whose footage is this? And it was like, it's mine. And so Mike came to my house, and we sat down, we went through a bunch of footage and stuff, and I knew he was a fan of Tribe Called Quest. It wasn't like he was just some director trying to get over. He's been at SOBs with us. He's been at all these different places with us, just hanging out, So I was like, okay, Mike is legit. He's a real fan of this group. It wasn't like he was just trying to get over. And then the guys who did the Time Is Illmatic, Nas, I don't know if you ever saw that documentary.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, they were two guys that worked at BET back in the days, and they came to me back then, and when they were working at BET, and was like, "Yo, man, we want to do this Nas documentary," and I said, "All right, no problem." And they talked to me, and they sat down for a long time, and I could tell they were sincere about it. They were trying to, just get over. And I said, all right, I'm gonna give you all the footage, and when y'all get your check, this is how much I want. And so they were like, all right, fine. And when they got the check from Tribeca or whoever, or Sony Classic, whoever signed it up, they came to me and said, hell, Ralph, bong, here's the check that we said we was going to give you. So, like I could tell who the right people, I'm not going to do that for everybody, just so you watch it. But I could tell by, their history and what they were doing and the way they were approaching it, that they were really serious about it. And in the beginning, Nas wasn't involved in it as much. So Nas got involved with it once he saw the rough cut. And he saw some of the footage that I had given him. And he was like, oh, right, I forgot about this. And Nas remembers everything. He'll tell me, yo, Ralph, you was there, you taped it. I know you did. And I'm like, okay. And then I'll go and look for it. And I was like, he's right, I did tape it. So yeah.
Or so right now you're working with the library out in Queens.
Yeah.
Queens Library, right?
Yeah, one of the things that I started doing over the last 2 years was I got involved with the Queens Library, which is by default. I went to speak there, and they were looking for somebody to kind of run a hip hop program there. And I was like, well, what does that entail? What does that mean? And well, we have to do programs 2-3 times a month. We have over 60 libraries in. Can you help us do some type of programming? Meaning, it could be, how to DJ 101. It could be hip hop graffiti class. How to do letters and what does that mean and all kind of stuff like that. Or it could be a book talk. It could be like we had Damon John there, who's another guy who I grew up with from FUBU and the Shark Tank. Damon was just a guy who I met who had some T-shirts, and he was selling them in 165th Street by the Coliseum. Yeah, and he had this T-shirt, and it was called FUBU. And he came to me and said, and his partner knew my mother, or his partner worked with my mother. And he said, my mother called me and said, yo, there's this kid here, he makes T-shirts, can you meet with him? I met with Damon's partner, then Damon came, and we sat down, and there was 4 guys, and they were called FUBU, was for us, by us. I said, that's dope, I like the idea, I like the concept. And so where do you have these shirts? And they had like 6 shirts, and that was it. That's all they had.
That's what they started with 6 shirts?
And they gave me 1.
Wow, they had 5.
They had 5.
Okay.
And so, I started wearing it. I did an interview with them. I started wearing it. I started talking. The first time they ever talked, and you see the interview, it's I think somewhere on YouTube. And they started talking. They were like, they had an idea. They just weren't ready yet.
And talk about product placement, though, because they came straight to someone that's in front of the cameras. And very smart people, man.
They knew I was directing.
Shout
they
out to
knew,
FUBU.
I could take it to different people. I called Diddy. I said, yo, you got to wear this and see some of your artists wear it. He was like, all right, I heard about it. Let's go, whatever. So I introduced him to different people that then he could go out and, it wasn't just a cold introduction.
Right.
And they ran with it, man. They've done crazy business.
Oh yeah, they legends now.
Yeah,
that's what's up. So where can we find you now? Where can we, get some of your product? Because of course, I'm rocking the Video Music Box University.
The reason why we did that was the Video Music Box University is that people say, man, I grew up watching. I learned so much about hip hop. So. You're a product of that right there. That's why you have that. And
we're in it with pride because
and people like it. Because it's a mindset. The Video Music Box University. We have it on videomusicbox.com or videomusicbox.tv, whichever you want to go to. The app is going to be coming soon, so people will be able to get it. Everything right there on the app, the Video Music Box app, and I'm around, I'm doing stuff. I come hang out with you at Success Sundays.
Shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? I love the fact that you always support an independent artist, regardless. Regardless of how high you've been with this vision that you have, right? But you always keep your eye in the future of hip hop, looking at the bottom ground at us. You know what I'm saying? Those
I see it. I see it. I was that person. I might not have been an artist making music, but I was making something. So I wanted somebody to kind of like, first of all, I always want somebody to inspire me. So I look for somebody to inspire me now. Okay. I go to somewhere and people go, I can't believe you still go to these shows and stuff and hang out with them. I said, sometimes I just need some inspiration. And maybe not for music, just for life for that day.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? Something to just get me through that day, because every day is interesting. It's like, how do we get through this day? We have need we have things that we got going on. Right. It's like, okay, I'm not really feeling good today. How do I need something to inspire me? And you look for it in something. And so, it could be Success Sundays. It could be whatever it is, and
X marks the spot, because
X marks the spot. Exactly.
Thanks to you, because this is all because of you.
Thank you.
Because of you, we are able to say, yo, I want to do my own podcast. I want to do my own TV shows. Because of Ralph, people like you, icons in hip hop that we grew up watching. So we appreciate everything you've done for the culture, my brother. We always this couch is always here for you.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up.
We just want to close out by letting you know that us as the future of the culture, we look at you guys. You know what I'm saying? We look at everything you guys have done and have accomplished, and that's our blueprint.
Yes.
You know, yeah, there are different types of hip hop, or different types of movements going on within the culture. But those of us that understand the essence that Africa Bambaataa spoke about, KRS-One speaks about, you know what I'm saying? Those are the people I follow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stay in that lane.
I respect that, and I'm glad you do, and I respect even the new artists. You know, some of the old guys don't respect what the new artists are doing, and I'm like, I just want to be motivated. So I go out and I want to hear what young artists have to say.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't matter to me, what it is, as long as it moves me.
Right.
And apparently, if people are going out and 500 people are going out to see. I saw Big Sean here for the first time at where venue we're at now, and I had never heard Big Sean's music. But when I came to the venue and I saw him perform, I got it, and I was like this, like, oh, okay. He's just saying like we all gonna make it. Basically, that was what he was saying that night. Don't worry, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna make it. We're gonna all be great.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So Uncle Ralph.
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping by X Marks the Spot, man. We appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks for passing the torch. I feel like I'm gaining something major right now. It's my first episode.
Wave the
Uncle
flag.
Ralph, the big homie in the building. You know what I'm saying? So thanks, man. And shout outs to BXC.
Yes.
This is our first episode, so we had the honor to have BXC Entertainment. We had the honor to have Push Films in the building.
Yes.
My team is growing. Everybody that believes in the concept, and you first and foremost, because it really confirms that we are about to do something special.
Absolutely.
Just by having you in the first episode.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm proud to be here. That's why I bought you.
And I got my cup. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all hit up. Limited edition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Those are not even on the site. They
I feel like the way you felt when Fubu gave you that shirt. You know what I'm saying? I got the cup. You know what I mean? Make sure y'all hit up the merch. Copy your Video Music Box University T-shirts and the merch website. Where I went, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I caught mine. I went on Video Music Box on Instagram. I hit the link.
Yeah.
And I went on the website and I
at
caught
Video
my
Music
merch.
Box.
You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all do that, man.
Yeah.
You dig? All right. X Marks the Spot. You already know.